FAQs are frequently asked questions, and when it comes to email marketing, there are a ton of them. Today's episode, we're going to address some FAQs around email pop-up forms, text-image ratio inside of your emails, and whether you need the discount to generate sales. Plus, we're going to discuss the Buy with Prime option you keep seeing pop up on Store's website and give you some advice on crafting Easter email campaigns. So thanks for being here. I'm Greg Zakowicz, an e-commerce marketing expert. Been involved with email for more than 15 years, believe it or not. Here at Omnisend, my goal is to help companies improve their email programs and increase their sales.
And I'm Gabe Bacaluso, Director of Customer Success here at Omnisend. I get to help brands on a daily basis implement those email strategies. And while Greg may be the great-grandpa of email marketing, I'm simply the grandpa of email marketing and have been in email and e-commerce for about a decade. Greg, did you know email marketing can generate an ROI of 40 to 1?
I did not, but as a former pirate, that's an ROI I like.
Nice.
All right, here's how it's going to work. We have 5 topics to cover today. We're going to spend 3 minutes on each topic and then move on whether we are done or not. Easy enough, right? Before we get started, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. If you have any email FAQs you want us to answer, leave them in the comments section and we will try to get to them. Our first topic is sign-up forms. Gabe, brands constantly want to collect more information along with email addresses, but how much info should they actually ask for on sign-up forms?
Great question to start off with, and this is something I'm super passionate about. It's always that constant struggle between quantity and quality. So I'm personally a fan of a one email address or one block of input and just, hey, let's capture that email address. And then through 2-step forms or the welcome series, that's where you can start engaging with your audience and getting more and more information from them.
So this is funny because we've talked about both of us being in email for so long, right? So close to 17 years for me all in. And my advice on this has completely changed. So it used to be, probably a decade ago, 8 years ago, hey, you should collect birthday, right? To get a birthday message off to people. And you should be collecting this. And right now I have pivoted that to exactly what you said. So email, I like SMS at the exact same time as well. I think it makes a lot of sense. You can always do SMS on 2-step forms as well. It's a perfect solution for you, but I would keep it very simple. And you mentioned automation. So this is something I want to talk about a little bit. And I know you've got your own feelings on this, which is awesome. But, I always ask, when I used to consult clients, I would say, well, what are you using the information for, right? Because they want birthdays or they want zip codes or whatever they're asking for. Right. And they'll be like, well, I want a segment. I'm like, well, are you going to use that in the welcome series? And most of the time the answer is no. And I'm like, well, use the welcome series to collect it if you want to do it then. But if you're not diverging paths and using splits on it, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to be asking for that because you want to focus on that conversion.
Yeah. And I think honestly, it really depends on your brand and your brand voice. So if it makes sense to collect that information, if you're going to redirect people based on how they fill out that form, then 100%, you should absolutely do that. And we can always kind of fall back on the acronym of ABT, always be testing, right? So, do I run a pop-up form with one field? What's my submission rate? How is that pop-up performing? And then even downstream, looking at the number of conversions in that welcome series. Is that driving more engagement to get that inbox formed up with that user or that contact versus if you're asking for things starting simple as men versus women? Okay, that's an easy kind of diversion. If you're a sporting goods store, are you doing running, swimming, biking? All of those little things can definitely add to the experience that the brand has with that contact. But if you're not going to use it and you don't have the bandwidth to do it, then don't give yourself that extra layer of work to collect that information unless you're going to be effective, which I think is exactly what you said. And totally agree with your point there.
So gender is the interesting one because if you're, say, a fashion retailer, right, that's the one where I would say, again, are you going to use in the welcome series? I would say you probably should if you're collecting it. You never know who people are shopping for. That is the one thing, and that's where a click-based welcome series might come in handy. But the gender is the one thing. Also, if you sell to B2B and B2C, right? So gift baskets, are you shopping for yourself or for corporate? Those might be 2 instances where you want something. But those, like you, I would kind of leave it at that, email address, SMS, and I'd kind of move on and collect it later. And the bell has rung. Any last comments, Gabe?
So many more, but we'll save it for another episode.
Perfect.
Our second topic today, Greg, is text to image ratio in emails. Greg, the old best practice was for companies to strive for 60-40 text to image ratio. We still see it referenced in Google searches and all of those email expert bloggers. When a company asks you this question, what do you tell them?
I tell them the key word you just mentioned, old, right? Could you be any old? All right, so going back to my first few years, we used to send all text emails when I first got into this thing, right? Going back the years, it was an issue, right? So there's some validity to that. That has changed so much in the last, 14 years, right? Emails are mostly image-based now. Most of the text that are in there for a lot of brands are actually built into the image itself, right? So it's image-based text. There are some things with B2B where it probably still holds true a little bit versus D2C, but, I'm checking my phone. I am not reading. I have glasses. These things have the strongest prescription in the world. I don't have time for text, right? So give me the images, give me a little bit of text, big letters. I'm good because I'm checking on my phone, and that's where I leave it. You're not going to wind up in the spam folder because you have image-based emails.
Yeah, and I completely agree. One of my favorite kind of anecdotes, if you will, is when someone tells me that you have to have a 60-40 text image ratio. I go, so what does 60% text to 40% image look like? So if I have a giant hero image, does that mean I need to write 3 paragraphs of text? Is it the size of the text, the length of the text? Like, no one actually understands what this ratio means. It's like, oh, well, the image is 500 pixels. That means I need to write, 1,000 words. Like, no one actually knows what that ratio means. I think someone just planted it as like a joke. Like, hey, this is what we're going to tell people, and no one actually knows what it means.
It's the guy who creates a spam folder, the spam filters early days, and they're like, yeah, you know what would be good? Some text here. Yeah, I don't know what's good. I don't know, 60% of it. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the one thing with text image ratio, which I'm sure you get and your clients get, and everyone you've worked with before is welcome series. We talk about automation here. Right. So card abandonment, you're going to have some images in there. You're going to probably have some text in there. That's natural. Welcome series. Right. And this is one of these best practices that I've, skewed away from, but telling brand stories and things like that in there. And that's usually text based. I don't think you need that stuff. I don't think that's the purpose of the welcome series anymore. And this is, again, where I've kind of shifted over the years with my advice. But that's the one thing is like, well, I need to tell my brand story. I need to tell you a little bit about the brand. Shouldn't I put text in my messages there? Not so much for the ratio, but for the fact you have text in there. I would say no, convert. What would you say?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm a fan of brand story, and it'll be interesting to see how this time transitions because especially as the last couple of years as we were going through COVID, it just offered that experiential bit of shopping, right? So you go into a really fancy store in like downtown and you're going to get that story. Like, how did you create this brand? So I think that welcome series, when we weren't able to have that in-person experience, definitely allowed kind of that brand story. But I think when we talk about the brand story, so many brands want their specific font and their specific, style guide. Well, if it's not a Google Web Safe font, it doesn't matter what you put in there or what text your ESP is going to let you import into the editor. Like, it's not going to display. So the only guaranteed way to make sure that your brand's font shows up in these, long blocks of text is by golly, Greg, you have to create an image. So now the real question is the guy or girl who created this text image ratio, does text and an image count as text or image?
So we'll leave it at that. Avoid text image ratio. We are so over on that bell. We're going to get 3 bells ringing on us here. So avoid the text image ratio. It doesn't matter. Use it when it's smart. Think about how you read your own emails. And if you have any strong opinions on this, leave a comment for us. All right, third topic today. Let's stay inside of the email itself. Many brands will discount inside their emails. This is a favorite question we always get. Advice from many. It tells you that if you want to drive sales, you need to send those discounts. Again, should brands discount if they send an email?
Okay, so I could go on a variety of different tangents on this topic. So let's see if I can control my ADD and keep it focused on one. And I think I'll go with this one, right? So discounts, I'm going to pause there because I have a good point, but I lost the transition. So editor, do your thing. So discounts are an interesting thing because people always talk about, do I offer a unique coupon code or do I just have a coupon code that gets leaked? And I think you have to remind yourself as a brand owner, if I'm giving a discount, I still have margin. And you have to ask yourself, if 10 people use this leaked discount code, is that better than 2 people using a unique coupon code? How many of those 10 people would have actually converted at full price or not? And what kind of margins do I have? So to me, it's like, if you're willing to give up that margin to a select group of your audience, like, I have no problem with that coupon code getting leaked if it's going to drive more conversions for me. So I think that's the first bit of it. The second bit of it is, how much do you discount? And you have to walk this fine line of not cheapening your brand and making sure that the discount is actually worthwhile for people to act. You can't offer, 20% Monday through Thursday and then offer 40% every Friday, because then people learn your discount cycle. So to me, it's like, it's spread them out, intermittent, intermix, and again, we can go all sorts of topics, and I have other thoughts that I want to get into, but I'm going to pause right there because I want to hear your thoughts on what we should do with discount inside the email.
So do you need the discount? Absolutely not, right? Look at luxury brands. They've got different value adds, things like that. So you don't need to. Now, are you in an industry where there's a lot of comparison shoppings? You might have to, right? I'm with you where I think selective discounting, right? You don't predict what's going to happen. So when I shop, I always look for a discount, no matter what I'm buying. Even if it's a rare discount from a brand, I will still, if I can't get it through a welcome message, a cart abandonment message, and yes, I will abandon a cart to see if I get one. If we all do that. And then I wait a few days to see if I get it, unless I really want to make that purchase. I do a quick Google search. I don't need to go on Retail Me Not and stuff like that. It's just not for me, but I will do a search there. I'll try maybe one code. And then if I really want it, I'll bite the bullet and I'll buy the thing. But here's the challenge, right? If it's something where I can get it out maybe on Amazon and with them now, and now I'm cross-comparing, and you might lose me to Amazon where your margins get cut a little bit more if you're still the seller. So you probably want me on the site. I think if you're a brand, you're kind of in a no-win situation. I think your first point's the best point, Gabe. And I think if you throw it on the screen, that's the one. Is it better to have 10 people use a code and protect your margins and get those 10 sales, or 2 people use a personalized code, fewer sales, but bigger margins that it's not cutting into? And I think that's the biggest thing here. Yeah, that's the bell.
That's the bell. There it is.
So we move on.
And, this actually kind of segues perfectly into our next topic, because when you were talking about comparison shopping, and Amazon, they do it right. The amount of times I pull up my Amazon shopping app when I'm standing in Walmart to scan products, be like, is this a good deal? They get it. That being said,
Gabe, you just admitted you go to Walmart.
It's the only big box store on the island. So Walmart it is. It's 25 minutes to Target, 5 minutes to Walmart. They've got it.
We love you, Walmart.
Yeah, they've got a monopoly on the market. And that's going to be a whole nother topic we can talk about, is membership at Walmart, right? Would love to know the numbers on that. So, but anyway, we digress. We're talking e-commerce, and we're spending our waking hours in brick and mortar locations. Okay. So moving on from question about email marketing, question about e-commerce industry in whole and buy with Prime. Amazon, the juggernaut, says some companies are seeing up to 70% of stores' sales pay using buy with Prime. So we've seen that little button everywhere. A question for you: do you see sticking around? And if so, will it become the default for anyone who's a Prime member?
So this is interesting because buy with Prime is different than Amazon Pay, right? So you see Amazon Pay on Shopify sites, which just kind of brings your info over, makes the checkout easier. Buy with Prime, for those that don't know, you can obviously do a quick Google search. This is actually on a third-party website. You make the purchase, buy with Prime, you put your info in, and you're a 3PL with, you're using Amazon for 3PL, so fulfillment. So your order is just kind of handled through Amazon. So you get the quick shipping, you get the free return, stuff like that. Will it stick around? Too soon to tell. I think it will, right? So I think Amazon Pay is something, I haven't used it yet. I don't use Amazon Pay when I have the option because I'm okay using credit cards. I think buy with Prime will stick around, but I don't think it's going to be if I go buy, say, a pair of jeans from XYZ retailer, I'm using buy with Prime, right? I think when we talk about things like lawn equipment or hardware type stuff or things like that, I think those things are, to me, a little more natural for, I'm going to buy over there, I'm going to ship it over, price check it over there, and I just know it's easy for me. I think, to me, my sense is that's where people are going to be using it. But Shopify has their own competition in this, right? So they've got their own thing, which I think Amazon's got that name brand to it, and I think that's where it's at. So I've dominated 2 minutes worth of this talking.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a minute over to you, Gabe.
No, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think Amazon Pay, unless they launch their own smartphone, which they have, Lord knows they have the money to be able to do it. But the adoption, I think, is
they've tried
with it. Yeah, and they've played. But unless they have that thing going for them, because I've started using Apple Pay. I got my wife to use it. My wife is like the antithesis of wanting to use technology. She absolutely hates it. She's gonna, be the one with the sticky note on the back of the remote to which buttons does she put to get on the TV. But anyway. That being said, I think the buy with Prime, I think is absolutely going to stick around. I think people love that convenience. And if people are smart about the way they kind of market and push this as an option of hey, you can still support the small business, the local business, the direct-to-consumer business versus just going to Amazon. And, this goes back to, and I don't know what the latest stats are, but, for a while, Amazon product search was actually a higher percentage than going to Google, because the idea being, if I'm going to search for a backpack, I know I can go to Amazon, search backpack, and I'm buying a backpack. That I've already narrowed my focus versus if I go to Google and search backpack, am I getting a backpack trip? Am I getting, school backpacks, hiking backpacks? There's all kinds of things that can come up on a Google search. So we already know that Amazon is starting to dominate that product search. So now if I can use that same kind of convenience, but have a specific brand I want to buy from and feel like I can support them, then, whether or not it's actually going to give them a bigger margin, or if it's simply a concept of greenwashing, that's where we're at.
So we are so over the 3 minutes here, but I'm going to spend another minute here. We got Hector Salamanca in the background from Breaking Bad, just slamming the bell over and over again. So, So here's the thing, what Amazon says with this, right? They say, okay, the biggest challenge we hear from stores is driving traffic to the website. And Amazon obviously has that traffic built in. Now, Amazon's not dumb, right? They're trying to get sales over there, but they're also using it to say, okay, buy some sponsored ads on Amazon. We'll redirect you from Amazon to your website. So you get that traffic, you own that customer relationship, but you use the buy with Prime. So they're getting the ad money from there, which you're spending, but instead of taking you to an Amazon store page, they're taking you back to your website. So they're breaking the user experience a little. They're just reverse engineering it a little bit, but it's appealing for people looking for traffic and to kind of stand out there. So, all right, so that's where we're at. Our final topic today, this is what we've been teasing everyone. We've been leaving that egg around. I like what you did earlier, Gabe, with leaving eggs around. So our final topic today involves planning Easter email marketing campaigns. I can't talk anymore. An average customer spends approximately $180 on Easter shopping each year. Three main drivers of this: obviously food, gifts, and candy. We all know food and candy are probably those two, but gifts are there. I know this is increasingly popular, especially I'm kind of married into giving gifts for Easter that is not chocolate, which is not something I'm used to. So Gabe, what should brands be aware of when planning their Easter email campaigns, or should they plan them at all?
Yeah, great question. So, yes, you should definitely send Easter campaigns. And the idea here is, like any gifting campaign, any holiday where you're going to be gifting things to other people, is about making it as easy as possible. So obviously you know who your demographic is and you know who's buying from you. If you are selling items for kids, you are putting together bundles and packages that's like, hey, mom and dad, here, one buy, here's the bundle. This is everything your kid will want. And we do the same thing in our house where it's a Lego set, Hot Wheels, LOL dolls, whatever, right? Like you can do those types of things. So you can absolutely kind of do like a mini gift guide. And what a great kind of opportunity to experiment and see like, how do your consumers react to these gift guide ideas as you start kind of already starting to think about holiday, right? Like the big holiday. So, you start thinking about that in June and July. So this is a great kind of way to sample that of like, hey, do our people actually interact with this? And of course, like if you're more of a spiritual brand, then obviously you have that whole angle. This is a huge time of year for you. If you're not that, like whatever the angle is, and I have a lot of fun with it, like especially around Christmas time, but you can use this as Easter too. Like if your dress is like dress to impress, are you meeting the family for the first time? Are you treating yourself? you spent all day cooking, or you're going to spend all day cooking and getting your family ready for the perfect picture, like treat yourself to some rejuvenation. I mean, like literally you can go any sort of product vertical and position it as like, how do you treat yourself? How do you treat those around you?
Yeah, and there's a stat that when I was looking at this topic, the question you always get as a consultant is same thing you get around that Christmas time, right? Do I say Christmas? Do I say Hanukkah? Do I say Happy Holidays? Same thing for Easter, right? It's obviously a religious holiday. I think it has broader context with just general acceptance, though, as a holiday. More than half the people who do not celebrate Easter still plan on shopping Easter sales, right? They use the discounts there. So I would say it's okay to use Easter. If you're uncomfortable with it, you can always use spring and kind of use those Easter pastel colors. Any advice from your side, Gabe?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think Easter in general in the spring is about rebirth, light, joy, and those are all things that resonate extremely positive with purchasers. So again, any kind of angle there. We know we're recording this just ahead of St. Patrick's Day, so I don't know when this is going to be released, but we're going to get 1,000 subject lines like it's your lucky day or it's time to get lucky. We know that's coming. So Easter gives you way more broad flexibility in terms of those subject lines where it's excellent. We can really get in all the different puns, but you can also just say, hey, it's time for a new wardrobe, right? If the weather's getting warmer, you can start doing those spring releases for clothing, all that kind of stuff, warm weather, sports. Again, every vertical is going to have something. You just have to find your angle and run with it.
Yep, absolutely. So we are well over time. We are terrible at this. Hopefully we get better over time with this, but we are just if I was working a radio again, I'd be getting hammered for not hitting a break on time. So we do have one more bonus FAQ for today, but a friendly reminder, if you have any email FAQs you want us to answer, leave them in the comments section. So here's the bonus question. I know Omnisend has a free plan, but do you have any discounts for Omnisend premium plans? All right, that's a totally shill question here. I slipped that in. Someone didn't ask that. Of course we do. Check out the link and the promo code in the video description and enjoy your discount. I'm Greg Zakowicz.
And I'm Gabe Macaluso.
Thanks for watching, everybody. And don't forget, if you have an email marketing question, drop it in the comments section below. And if you're interested in more email marketing tips, be sure to check out this video on email marketing secrets for success. Till next time, happy marketing.